Entitled stepmother tried to hijack my $45,000 wedding and ban my mom. So I banned her. Instead, my entitled stepmother tried to completely hijack my dream wedding, demanded I kick out my own mother, and pulled the ultimate ultimatum on my dad. But she forgot one tiny detail. I paid for every single cent of the wedding myself. Here's how her arrogance got her permanently banned from the biggest day of my life. All right, grab a drink and get comfortable because this whole situation is an absolute dumpster fire of entitlement. And I honestly still can't believe it actually happened. For a bit of context, I'm a 28-year-old female, and I recently got married to the absolute love of my life, Mark, who's 30. We've been together for 5 years, and when we got engaged, we made a pact. We were going to pay for our own wedding down to the very last dollar. No parental handouts, no family loans, nothing. We both work hard. I work in digital marketing, and Mark is a software engineer, so we spent nearly 2 full years saving up every extra dime. We wanted our dream wedding at a beautiful rustic vineyard about 2 hours outside our city. We budgeted roughly $45,000, and every single cent came out of our own bank accounts. Remember that detail, because it becomes the entire center of this story. Now, let's talk about my stepmother, Karen. Yes, that's her actual name, and I swear she lives up to every single stereotype associated with it. Karen married my dad about 6 years ago. My parents got divorced when I was in high school. It was a pretty amicable divorce, they just grew apart. My real mom, Susan, is a sweet, quiet woman who works as an elementary school teacher. She lives modestly, never asks anyone for a single thing, and has always been my biggest cheerleader. Karen, on the other hand, is the exact opposite. She's loud, materialistic, obsessed with status, and thrives on control. From the day she married my dad, she treated me and my younger brother like minor inconveniences in my dad's life. She constantly made passive-aggressive comments about my clothes, my career choice, and even my mom. For years, I kept the peace just for my dad's sake. I smiled, bit my tongue, and took the high road. But when Mark and I started planning our wedding, Karen saw it as her personal stage to shine. It started about 8 months before the wedding. We sent out the formal invitations, and shortly after, Karen called me. "Hey, sweetie," she said in that fake, overly sweet voice she uses when she wants something. "I saw the invitation for the head table seating, but I noticed my name isn't listed next to your father's at the main table. Where am I sitting?" I calmly explained, "Karen, the head table is just for Mark and me, the bridal party, my dad, and my mom. We set up a dedicated VIP table right next to the head table for step-parents, grandparents, and close family." Silence on the line. Then her tone shifted instantly. "Excuse me? You're putting me at a secondary table like an outsider? I am your father's wife. I represent the family. It is completely unacceptable for your mother to sit at the head table while I'm shoved off to the side like common help." I breathed through my nose and said, "Karen, Susan is my biological mother. It's standard for the bride's biological parents to sit at the main table if they're comfortable with it, and my dad already agreed it was fine." She scoffed. "Well, your father clearly wasn't thinking straight. I am the matriarch of this household now, and I expect to be seated at the head table. End of story." I told her I'd talk to my dad, but I made no promises. When I called my dad, he sounded exhausted. He basically confessed that Karen had been nagging him for days about the wedding arrangements, insisting that as his wife, she deserved top priority. My dad, being a passive guy who hates confrontation, begged me to just make a small tweak to appease her. I felt bad for him, but I stood my ground. It was our wedding, not Karen's photo shoot. A month later, the venue threw an exclusive menu tasting event for the couples and 4 extra guests. Mark and I invited my mom, my dad, Karen, and Mark's mother. That dinner was the night everything started blowing up. We sat down at this gorgeous candlelit table at the vineyard. The chef brought out sample plates of filet mignon, pan-seared salmon, and a gourmet truffle risotto. My mom was gushing over how delicious everything was, taking pictures with her phone. Karen looked at the menu options, turned up her nose, and loudly announced to the entire room, "Honestly, filet mignon is so cliché for a wedding. People are going to think you guys couldn't afford a high-end catering team. We should really do a lobster tail and caviar course." Mark politely smiled and said, "Karen, we really love the filet, and honestly, lobster would blow our catering budget out of the water." Karen rolled her eyes, took a sip of her wine, and laughed. "Oh, don't be so dramatic. A proper wedding costs money. Your father and I want this event to look respectable for our friends who are coming." Notice how she said, "your father and I"? My mom quietly spoke up and said, "I think the filet is wonderful, Karen. The bride and groom picked what they love, and that's what matters." Karen turned her head, looked my mother up and down with absolute disdain, and said, "Well, Susan, some of us have higher standards for social events, but I suppose you wouldn't understand that." The table went completely dead silent. Mark looked like he was about to blow his top, and my dad went pale. My mother just looked down at her plate, deeply embarrassed. I squeezed my mom's hand under the table, looked Karen dead in the eye, and said, "Karen, if you have nothing respectful to say to my mother or about our choices, you don't need to stay for dessert." Karen gasped, looked at my dad expecting him to defend her, but my dad just stared at his napkin, completely spineless. Karen huffed, grabbed her designer purse, and stormed out to sit in the car. You'd think that would be the end of it, right? Oh no, it gets so much worse. Fast forward to 3 weeks before the wedding. I was at the bridal boutique with my mom doing my final dress fitting. Out of nowhere, my phone rang. It was my dad. I stepped outside the fitting room to answer. My dad's voice was trembling. "Sweetie, we have a huge problem." "Dad, what's wrong? Are you okay?" I asked. "It's Karen," he sighed. "She's throwing a massive fit. She says she refuses to come to the wedding unless 2 conditions are met." I braced myself. "Okay, what are her conditions?" "First," my dad stuttered, "she wants her name added to the wedding invitations as an official host alongside your mother and me. Second, she insists that your mother cannot sit in the front row at the ceremony or sit at the head table. She says it's humiliating for her to be outshone by your mom. And if your mom is in the front row, Karen won't attend. And she says if she doesn't go, I'm not allowed to go either." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Wait, is she giving you an ultimatum? She's telling you that you can't walk your own daughter down the aisle unless I demote my own mother?" "I'm so sorry, honey," my dad whimpered. "You know how she gets. She's threatening to file for divorce if I go without her. I don't know what to do. Can't you just move your mom back 1 row, just to keep the peace?" At that exact moment, something inside me snapped. Years of dealing with this woman's entitlement, her constant disrespect toward my mother, her emotional manipulation of my father, and her delusional belief that she was calling the shots on my wedding day, it all came crashing down in a single second. I took a deep breath and said, "Dad, who is paying for this wedding?" He hesitated. "Well, you and Mark." "Exactly," I said, my voice cold as ice. "Not you, not Karen. You guys haven't contributed a single dollar. Not for the venue, not for the flowers, not for the food. So let me make this crystal clear to you. Karen does not get to dictate a single detail of my wedding." "Honey, please." "No, Dad. Listen to me very carefully," I interrupted. "Tell Karen that her conditions are officially rejected. In fact, tell her she doesn't have to worry about sitting in the second row because she is no longer invited to the wedding at all." My dad went dead silent. "What?" "You heard me. She is officially banned from the wedding. I am calling the venue coordinator today, updating the guest list and hiring security at the entrance. If she steps foot on the property, she will be escorted off by security." "Sweetie, you can't do that," my dad panicked. "She's my wife. What about me? If I come without her, she'll destroy our marriage." I felt a tear slip down my cheek, but my voice stayed rock solid. "Dad, I love you. You are my father, and I desperately want you to walk me down the aisle. But if you choose your abusive, entitled wife over your own daughter's wedding, that is a choice you have to live with. You have 24 hours to decide if you're coming alone or if you're staying home with her, but Karen is done." I hung up the phone. I went back inside the boutique, looked at my mom sitting there in her lovely mother of the bride dress, and I burst into tears. I told her everything. My mom held me crying too, telling me she was so sorry for all the stress. But she also said, "You did the right thing, honey. You deserve a day full of love, not walking on eggshells." Over the next 48 hours, my phone was blown up like a war zone. Karen sent me a wall of text messages calling me an ungrateful, spoiled brat, a psychopathic bridezilla, and a terrible daughter. She claimed I was ruining my father's life and destroying their marriage. She even posted a passive-aggressive Facebook status about ungrateful stepchildren who don't know the value of family. My dad called me 4 times, crying, begging me to reconsider, saying Karen was packing her bags to stay at a hotel. I didn't budge. I blocked Karen's number on my phone, blocked her on all social media platforms, and sent a formal email to my dad with the venue's security protocol attached. I told him, "The offer for you to walk me down the aisle stands, but you walk alone. Choose." The week of the wedding arrived. The tension was suffocating, but Mark and I focused entirely on each other and our loved ones. Then came the wedding day. The weather was absolutely perfect. A warm, sunny autumn afternoon at the vineyard. The flowers were gorgeous, the music was playing, and my bridal suite was filled with laughter, champagne, and love. 30 minutes before the ceremony started, there was a knock at my door. I opened it, and there stood my dad. He was wearing his tuxedo, holding a boutonniere in his hand, and his eyes were completely red and swollen. He looked broken, but he smiled through his tears. He looked at me in my dress and said, "You look so beautiful, sweetie." "Dad," I whispered. "You came?" He walked in, wrapped his arms around me, and sobbed quietly into my shoulder. I couldn't miss my little girl's wedding, he said. I realized if I let her take this moment away from us, I would regret it for the rest of my life. She left for her sister's house in Florida last night. She told me if I walked out that door, we were finished. And honestly, I think I'm okay with that. I hugged him so tight. It was the first time in 6 years I felt like I had my dad back. The ceremony was pure magic. My dad walked me down the aisle, handed my hand to Mark, and took his seat in the front row, right next to my mom. They didn't fight, they didn't argue. They sat side by side, crying happy tears as Mark and I exchanged our vows. Oh, but if you think Karen went quietly, you don't know entitled people. During the reception, while everyone was on the dance floor having the absolute time of their lives, the venue manager quietly walked up to Mark and me and whispered, "Just wanted to let you know, a woman in a bright red dress showed up at the main gate about 20 minutes ago claiming she was the mother of the bride and demanding entry. Security checked the photo you provided, confirmed it was her, and turned her away. She threw a fit, screamed at the guard, and sped off." Mark and I looked at each other, burst out laughing, and toasted our champagne glasses. She actually drove all the way to the venue thinking she could crash it and cause a scene. The rest of the night was pure joy. Delicious food, incredible music, endless dancing, and zero drama. Postscript update. It has been 3 months since the wedding. My dad actually filed for divorce 2 weeks after the wedding. Seeing how toxic Karen acted and realizing he almost missed his only daughter's wedding because of her selfish demands was the final wake-up call he needed. He's currently living in his own apartment, going to therapy, and reconnecting with me and my brother. Karen tried to text me from a burner number a month ago demanding an apology for ruining her reputation in the family. I didn't even reply. I just deleted the message and went back to enjoying my life with my amazing husband. So yeah, entitlement really does have consequences. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more insane Reddit drama, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Drop a comment down below. Do you think I did the right thing by banning her, or was I a bridezilla? I'd love to read your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.